and McCoy for the wonderful work that they have done to bring us all here together. I would also like to thank the Nina Mason Pulliam Trust, Dr. Twyman, Sherry Bush, David Hillman, Leanne Hoy, Harriet Ivy, and everybody else in the trust that has made my educational dreams possible. I would also like to thank Charles Tony Knight and Malachi Walker with Young Men Incorporated, one of the programs that I believe helped me become anything that I am and anything positive that I can be. I also would like to thank Rec One for playing my music back in the days. Even though they don't happen anymore, I still want to thank them. I also would like to thank my friends and my co-workers and the members from Public Allies that have come out and shown so much support. Today I would like to speak to you, but I really want to make sure that everybody understands who I am and where I'm coming from. See, a young man, he couldn't do it just because. Someone said that he wouldn't do it, but then he does. It shocks the whole world who didn't believe that he was somebody he could achieve and he could succeed. In the same streets that we breathe, we sleep and we cleave to the things we say that we want but don't even need. What happens when all that you have is all that you want but not what you need? You see, I used to be an educator's worst nightmare. I was the one that was telling your kids that they didn't have to go to college. I was the one who would rather look educated while just winging it than to slow down enough to get an education. I was the one who was intelligent enough to walk the walk and talk the talk of a degree-holding professional without ever having one. It worked well for me, and I knew it. In fact, it worked so well that most of my friends never had an idea that I didn't have a college degree until they found out I was back in school. As a young professional who has experienced the job market from various roles that include satellite installation technician, administrative assistant, marketing director, program manager, fast food cashier, drywall finisher, director of business development, janitor, mentor, assembly line worker, minority business owner, and recording artist, I think I know a thing or two about what kind of job you can get with a high school degree or diploma. Because of my recent return to college, I believe that I'm also especially qualified to deliver this message. Today I will talk about why I was against college, what changed, and why does that even matter when we talk about student success. First, I would like to speak about why I was against college. Shoot, they ain't gonna put their brand on me and then try to claim credit for my success. That's what I used to say. I was self-assured enough that I didn't even look the way of local universities when I thought about my own development plan. I had proof I was intelligent. I was an honor student, mostly in grade school, all the way through high school. I graduated after the 11th grade. I was very comfortable being called articulate. And I got the same job as individuals that were graduating from college. This was enough to convince me that I was the stuff. And I was right, for the most part. By the age of 28, I had managed to travel the country, start a business from the ground up, attract clients like the now rapper B.O.B. and the 2008 Obama campaign, and even the state of Indiana. I've been flown out to the BET Awards twice on all expense-paid business trips. I've done everything that I could do without a degree. Well, maybe not everything. You see, this brings me to my next point. What changed my mind? Even though I had been kicking it with D. Wade and Busta Rhymes and Mike Tyson and a number of other celebrities in LA, everything was not okay behind the scenes. Even though I had signed contracts with dream clients and I felt like I was in a position to call my own shot. I had no idea what was just around the corner. That very same year, I began to see that I was being set up for a big letdown. This letdown would create the most depressing moments of my life. This letdown would be me looking at my children, knowing that I can't buy diapers. This letdown will be knowing that I can't pay the rent. This letdown would lead me to local service providers, begging them to help me take care of my family. What I didn't know was this letdown was the beginning of a national recession. Even as my client list became more and more elite, my financial situation became more and more bleak. That year alone, I lost 6 clients who reneged on work that we both agreed upon. I was so blinded about how fast things were moving that I didn't realize that I was doing a lot of work that I would never be paid for. When I filed my taxes that year, I found that I brought home to my family of 6 a mere $17,000. It was time to look for something else. At this point, I thought that something else was a job. What I quickly learned was that my experience didn't mean anything to potential employers if I didn't have a degree. Out of the 103 jobs I looked for over the next year and a half, I landed 4 interviews. It was the last interview that brought me to Public Allies. Public Allies viewed my experience as a valuable asset and wasn't concerned as much with what I knew as they were with what I could do. Even though I thought I was set when I got the opportunity to work with Public Allies, Public Allies became the vehicle to drive home the message that I needed to go back to school. This happened during a mid-year retreat reflection activity. We directed participants to visualize where they wanted to be in 5 years, where they wanted to be in 10 years, where they would like to be in 20 years. Then we told them to come up with action steps that could make these realities come true. When I did this for myself, I grew extremely bothered. The next 2 days were filled with people asking why I looked so sad and was everything all right. My heart was broken because when I thought of the reality that I wanted to create for my family, I knew that I wasn't doing anything to get us there. That's when it came home. That's when the message became real, that I needed to return to school. The question then comes, why does this matter when we think about student success? And what does my story have to do with students that not only are not in college, but are not even thinking about what life is going to be after they graduate? So my last point is a very quick one. This point is that my story accentuates why it's essential that students have a relevant purpose for succeeding in school. I was doing well in school. I was never a troublemaker. I was not a class clown. I did pretty well. I didn't spend a lot of time in detention. Everyone thought that I would graduate, that I would get my undergrad degree, and that I would at least pursue a master's level education. But what no one anticipated was me losing a connection to school's relevance. I knew what a job looked like. I knew what making stuff happen looked like. What I didn't know was what an educated black man with a meaningful career looked like. From my understanding, your grind defines your shine. And what that means is that those that have, or those that can go out and can make something out of nothing. And with that mindset, that didn't leave any time for me to sit in a classroom. For many of our youth, there is no context for student success in their home life. It is not valued, it is not encouraged, and many times it's not even recognized. School didn't mean anything to me, as well as it didn't mean anything to my community. It is my estimation that we can't get to how we can help students succeed until we actually explore why students should succeed. So with that, I submit one quote, and one quote only. I'm sorry it's not a scholarly quote, but Tracy Chapman wrote a song that said, "Give me one reason to stay here, and I'll turn right back around." We as a community have an opportunity to give students a reason to stay and succeed in school. What will we do with it? Today I'll discuss why I was against college, what changed, and why that matters so much to student success. Now I invite you to join me in giving an opportunity for students to learn why it's important for them to be successful in school. And maybe they won't have to learn this lesson through a bout with being chronically unemployed. My question is, will you join me? Thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity.